Our guest today on Caribbeana is Rochelle Antoine, and she is from Trinidad and Tobago. And she comes from a community that we don't normally hear much from, but it's a part of our indigenousness in the island of Trinidad, the Warao. Rochelle, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. The Warao, I mean, it's not a common name for us, but we know they are there, they have been there, the Caribs and so on, but we haven't had much knowledge of the Warao. And I mean, coming from South, I'm a South man, I grew up
Really?
in Princess Town, lived in San
Okay.
Antonio. So it's very wonderful for me to encounter all of this. Tell me about first, what are you all doing? You all have a festival taking place.
Right. Well, first I wanted to say we don't say Waraho or Warahul. It's Warao, right?
Mara, oh,
And Warao means the canoe people or the water people because of the history where many of our ancestors came to these shores by canoe, and they used to go to San Fernando Hill and perform sacred rituals there.
yes,
And so this festival is a collaboration with the our community, the Warao community of San Fernando, as well as the Warao Nation community of Siparia, to host the Indigenous Festival this week from the 13th to the 19th of October
right, right, right,
in
right,
San Fernando.
right, right, right. Well, I imagine it must be an educational experience for many, especially young people in the island, yeah?
Absolutely. There are a lot of people who are curious, and some people, for the few students that we've had, they have something to write about in their
Right,
history class or social studies and so
right,
on.
right, 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 right. It's very similar to the experience of the Americans. I'm sure you are aware of the Americans.
Which similarity are you speaking of?
Well, the similarity in terms of the time and the reality that you came from ancestors. They came from the African ancestors
Right,
and settled and moved on and settled in the company villages.
right.
Yeah,
But the difference between us and the Americans is that, you see, indigenous people to the Americas, they existed for thousands of years. And there were no border lines. There were places of names, yes, but you didn't need a passport. You
right,
know what I
right,
mean? And
right, right.
so anybody could go anywhere. There were five main indigenous groups in Trinidad, and their names were not Caribs and Arawaks. Uh,
Oh,
so
can
that's
you
just something that
can you tell us?
I can't speak to all of the names, but we know about the Kalinago, the Tainos.
Oh,
Arawak was the language of the Tainos. A lot of the
wow,
Tainos were removed from our lands and taken higher up to Dominica and Puerto Rico and so on,
right, right,
because of the atrocities committed by the colonialists.
right.
And there are also Napoyo and Garifuna, and so this is part of why I wanted to have this experience this week because one of our lectures were on Indigenous history
Yes.
and how Trinidad has performed on the international stage, setting things in motion. There are a lot of groups that were formed decades
Yeah,
ago, getting things going, putting a stop to certain plans by the Vatican and so on.
yeah.
Actually, there is a video of the lecture by Shabaka Kambon, the founder of the Crossroads
Uh-huh.
Freedom Project,
Yes.
where he spoke a lot more about it.
Oh,
And so we want people to be able to know more about who are the indigenous people, what are we about, how many of us are there. You wouldn't believe how many people have indigenous blood. And it's either that they don't know how to come to terms with it or they're going based on the wrong information that has been taught for many, many years.
right, 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 right. Well, that's good that this effort is being made and the teaching is done to exercise the impact with the young people because they're the ones who are going to be carrying this forward, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm one of them, being a young person myself.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm really proud of you, man. Um, where so what are the tangibilities now? I have this is fantastic because I've met people the time somebody who were of Taino's relationship from Jamaica, and and then there are Garifunas in St. Vincent, I believe. So this is just a fascinating exercise that you all are going through. How do you feel about it? How are you going about it?
Well, if anything, this experience has taught me quite a lot. And on a personal level, I realized just how much of us are related in Trinidad alone.
Yes, yes,
Because of how many people say, well, I have Warao too, or I have Kalinago. And then when we listen to the family names, we realize that, there are lots of us who are related and we just don't know.
don't know.
So, it kind of plays into the wider message that we want to build the community. We want to share the culture and the traditions. We want us to learn. Even members of our committee are learning as well, because there are things that you would know over time or you would learn from your grandparents or
Yes,
other members of your family. But there's just a wealth of knowledge to be had. And the work doesn't stop here with this festival. It's just the launching part for something greater, for us
right.
to continue doing outreach programs and having events that continue to build the culture. And I would like to point out at this time the United Nations declarations on the rights of Indigenous people, of which Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory.
Right.
It's something that if you get a chance, go look it up, take a look at the things that they assign in terms of responsibilities that have to cater towards the needs of Indigenous peoples and rebuilding the culture.
Right, right.
Something that we don't take seriously enough in Trinidad and Tobago.
Hmm.
So it's a heartwarming feeling when you're able to reconnect with people. When I say reconnect, it's on a different level. Even if there are
Yes,
people that
yeah,
you don't know and you're meeting for the first time who
yes,
have Indigenous heritage, it is like a reconnection because it's like, yes, I can feel seen, I can feel heard, that the,
yeah,
the cause is not dead, and the culture is being revived.
right, 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 right. Now, does the Warao have a hierarchy, like a chief, queen, or anything like that?
But we have a chiefess. Her name is Donna Bermudez Bovel, sorry.
Yes,
Casika, we call her Casika. Donna Bermudez Bovel.
right.
And she's in charge of the superior group, the Warrows of the south part of Trinidad.
Yes.
We also have the shaman of the Warao community of San Fernando, Raul Keith Simon.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting, he actually launched two books this week as part of the festival.
Right.
One of them is called The Meeting, and the other one is called Anaparima, The Truth and the Tale, in collaboration with an environmentalist called Katrina Khan Roberts.
Right.
And so I think it's something that, it was a really exciting experience to see those books being launched, because you don't hear much about Indigenous books telling
Yes.
our story from a different perspective that is not just Columbus came and did X, Y, and Z, and it's real cut
Right.
and dry and no imagination whatsoever.
Right. Right. Right.
So it really delves into more of the, let's say, historic fiction or fiction literature based on history,
Yeah.
and in some ways more of the spiritual aspects.
But it gives it some reality too, some life, uh,
Absolutely.
because it's so important to have these things documented. Um, you,
Definitely.
and Trinidad is a fascinating place. I mean, to see the kinds of things that have come out of Trinidad. I mean, I have written a book.
Yes.
I've written a book called Voices of Pan Pioneers, where I trace the history of the Pan. From
Hmm.
the people in Trinidad and outside of Trinidad as well. So
Yes.
so this conglomeration of outpourings is very important and very critical to
Yes.
maintain. And
Definitely.
so, what do you see the group, what is next, you would think, going on for the community?
Well, it being our first annual Indigenous festival,
Right.
we would like to, continue to explore options that are available to us. I must say that this concept was one of the Shaman Raoul's, and it's really his concept that brought this to life. The only thing is that it couldn't happen sooner because of the pandemic and the
Yes,
ramifications from that.
yes,
So it's something that we want to continue doing, but other than that, there will be smaller programs being put in place by the group. The shaman actually does outreach programs with the schools in collaboration with NALIS, the
yes,
National Library and Information System.
right.
And, we're going to continue doing things like that because it's so very important to reach the young people.
Yes, 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 yes. Very, very, yeah, very. Well, are there any visual arts? I understand that they are works by artists, paintings, and so on.
Absolutely. And so, in fact, the home of the festival is the Indigenous art exhibition. And I mean, for those who will be listening or viewing this program, it's an experience like no other. You know, when you look at a picture and you wish that because it's so striking, you wish you could be there in person.
Right,
The
right.
art itself, it gives you that feeling that, you just want to jump in. You just want to
Yeah,
immerse yourself because there are a lot of natural displays and there are also different concepts being explored by the Indigenous artists themselves.
yes,
And there are even a few pieces of work by students, right? It's really interesting that we have this coming together of various artists,
right,
and even the display is just magnificent.
right, 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 right. Yeah,
This work of visual art and sculpture as well.
right, right. Excellent, excellent. I hope we'll get a chance to see some of that, and the exhibition. That people love art. You know,
Oh yes.
something that draws people in. So where do you see all of this taking you all?
Well, honestly, there are so many different directions that we could go from here.
Yeah,
Like I mentioned, rebuilding culture, rebuilding the communities. People have been reaching out about the indigenous languages, and that's an important part of the festival as well because we are featuring a session on the Warao language, which was thought to be lost.
right,
And it,
right.
in and of itself, is quite unique. It's different from any other language system that
Could
exists.
could you share a couple of words or so if I don't put you on the spot?
Oh, well, I'm not proficient. I have something to learn. I took part in one of the workshops yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And so I learned a new word, it's yakera, you know.
Yakira.
Yes.
Yeah. And
It's
what does
a
that
so
mean?
it's a greeting. It's like, hello,
Oh,
how are you?
oh, okay.
Yes, yes, like that,
Yakira.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So we have another session tomorrow, and beyond this, we are going to be encouraging some actual language classes, just like how you have Spanish classes by the embassy
Right,
and so
right,
on.
right, right,
Yes.
right.
So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, yeah. And Trinidad of itself has its own language, Wapnindi.
Yes.
What's happening,
Yes. And it's evolving all the time, like
Right.
all languages do.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, my dear, I want to thank you so much, Rochelle, for talking with us and sharing with us. We will continue to follow through and wish you all good luck and give my regards. And I hope I get a chance to talk to the Shama or the chieftain. All right?
Okay. Yes, I will pass on your regards. And it's my pleasure being here, being able to spread our message. So
All
thank
right.
you.
You're welcome. Okay. I've been speaking with Rochelle Antoine, and she is from the Warao community of San Fernando, and they have just parted. They are enjoying a festival, an Indigenous festival. This is Ron Martin. Caribbeana continues.